Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Tuesday. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Tuesday morning, guys. So I'm obviously backed up on emails because I had such a really busy weekend. I've responded to a great number of you guys, but I'm making this recording for a particular sis. Sis, you can comment if you choose, that's completely up to you. But she wanted my opinion, all caps, opinion, and you guys feel free to chime in yours in the comment section if you would like, in regards to this. There's piss in the dating pool, and that's a saying, guys. That's literally a saying. There's quote unquote piss in the dating pool. So she wanted my opinion on a couple of different things, such as how can she explore her options, because she tend to only meet little Tonys. That's my crazy word, little Tonys, right? Etc. etc. Okay, so I'm going to hit this from several different directions. Again, nothing's factual, just my opinion here. First thing, shouts out to little Tonys. The reason why I say shouts out to little Tonys is because at the end of the day, we all have a process to go through. Some people will never go through that process because some people don't believe that there's anything wrong with them. They don't believe they're toxic, and that's okay. That's their right. I think it's important for women to understand that versus you taking in a toxic man or a low value man, and then when you got him, you're sitting there and you're emasculating him because he's not a man. You don't feel safe. You don't respect him. Rather than take that kind of man in, don't take him in at all. Or if you take him in and you discover that he is, release him. So I'm not a woman who believes in sitting here and tearing men down and emasculating. That's just not who I am at all. It never have been. Because we have choices to accept that. See, you attract what you are. Well, I like to say you accept what you are. Because you, listen, people say you attract what you are. That's true, but it's also a fine line. Because you got some guys or women who are very overly cocky and confident. It could be like a facade or whatever. But you would almost think that they would think like, well, I don't really have my stuff together, so I wouldn't even approach a certain type. No. You got some who are very confident and cocky in their own rights in their own head. They ain't got a pot to piss in, but they will still try their hand. So it's not that you attract always what you are. It's you attract what you accept. So you don't have to accept that. You accept it because you're desperate. You accept it because society says. You accept it because you're looking for someone to make you happy, and really that's your job. You accept it because whatever. And then when it's in your presence, now you don't feel safe, right? He don't want to work. You're emasculating him. He's toxic. You're fighting every day. Listen. Life is too stressful for all that nonsense. I mean, no relationship, no marriage is perfect. You're going to always have your stuff. But if it's toxic and that constant, life itself is already stressful. Nobody got time. Well, I know I ain't got time for the nonsense. The higher you go and the more God takes you and elevates you and entrusts you with, the more things you have to steward, you just don't have time for that. You will cut somebody off on sight and don't think twice about it. Because at this point, you're looking for somebody to bring that peace that they have into the peace that you already have. So shouts out to my little Tonys, right? Do your thing. So again, I'm a very versatile chick. I'm a very diverse chick. You can put me in any room. I'm going to get in. I'm going to fit in where I get in, period. Right? You can put me in a room full of low Tonys. Why I'm there, I don't know, but whatever. You can put me in a room with low Tonys. I'm going to have a great time. Oh, we going to have a good time, but I ain't got time. But we going to have a great time. You can put me in a room where you consider everybody to be high value. Oh, I got all the time. I mean, in general. So, for one, sis, it's about where you're putting yourself. But before you can even determine where you put yourself, this is why you got to be sure you have done the work, right? If you need work, right? Because everybody don't, I'm speaking more so less about are there childhood traumas? Are you toxic? Have you heard from every person in your life that you were toxic? I'm just not speaking about relationships per se, because sometimes it's narcissists who's taking it and they're turning it around on you and it's really them. But do you feel like you're toxic? Are you the common denominator? Did you experience a toxic household where your mom and your daddy straight crazy, straight head busting? Like, what was the environment? Because if that was the environment where you have whoever raised you emasculating the man all day, the man never worked, but he got 35 outside children, the parent working, the mother working 5 jobs, he's working. What was your upbringing? Were they crackheads? Where they're in the home, but still emotionally unavailable? Because there's just misconception that if a person comes from a 2-parent household, it's a great foundation. No, sometimes you're better off with one if it's that toxic where it's going to literally affect and change the trajectory of the child's life. So a 2-parent household don't mean that you came from a great household. If the parents are emotionally unavailable, they're just a body in the house. That they still haven't really taught you a lot of things, proper communication, right? Emotional intelligence, things like that you may have to end up putting the work in yourself through allowing the Holy Spirit to guide you through counseling. First and foremost, from acknowledging that you need to heal. Maybe you had a great childhood, but maybe every relationship that you encountered or even marriage has been toxic, and the person has just changed you to be a toxic person because you're fighting every day with them. You're in survivor mode every day. So you literally have become a toxic person yourself. So now you're straight acting a fool. You're jealous. There's accusations for no reason, right? Just straight toxic. It is what it is. All right. So now you've decided to heal. First step, I need to heal. I need an intentional healing season that most likely will be a single season that everybody kicks and screams against. But that is the season. It goes hand in hand. Healing, single. God needs to work on you one-on-one. Because as women, many, not all, but most are very emotional. So you can be trying to work on yourself and then you get involved with somebody else and things are great for the first, you know how it goes, first 3 to 6 months. And then before you know it, because you're still not healed yet, right, there's going to be issues that arise in the second part of this relationship, this new relationship. So stay single, allow God to work on you, because see, once God works on you and God addresses your childhood issues, your childhood traumas, right, whatever has made you toxic, once God heals you, you will have no time for a toxic person. When you're toxic, being around toxic people is normal for you. It is what it is. You don't feel out of place. You're toxic. Once you're healed and you're whole and you've discovered what peace really is, a toxic person will literally disturb your spirit. And that's not to say that you go and you judge them and this and that, because you were probably once that person. They just haven't climbed enough yet to understand what elevation is about. That you wouldn't want that around you. And now you attract other healed, whole individuals. But you gotta sit in a single isolation season to do the work. There is absolutely no way around it. And that is the one pushback that women tend to give. And listen, men need a whole boot camp to heal, but we're not speaking about men. We're talking about taking accountability. We're talking about men. I love you. But yeah, y'all need a boot camp, right? We got our stuff. Y'all got your stuff. Let's just be fair here, right? So But we're talking about taking accountability for self. Again, this is where most women want to give that pushback. I don't care if they're listening to men or a woman. It's that pushback, as in if, well, if he don't do this, I don't do this. If he don't do this, I shouldn't do this. If he did this, I wouldn't have to do this. The point of the matter is, if you heal, if you elevate, if you know what you carry, you wouldn't even be entertaining that. So you're saying what he won't do, what he won't do. Listen, that's just a merry-go-round. He's going to do what he wants to do because that's just who he is. He don't have a desire to change, and that's okay. But you don't have to stay. You got to free yourself from that. So you can't get around that unless you go through a healing season that will elevate your mindset. There's levels to this thing, literally. And you can't climb levels until you start worried about what men do, what men ain't going to do, what men, even the ones who are talking foolishness about women, that stuff would not even penetrate you. You don't even care about that nonsense because you can see right through it. You know, probably 90% of these men who are talking that nonsense, these men are toxic, unhealed men. Because let me tell you something, high value masculine men do not go back and forth with the woman. I promise you, they will leave you on sight sitting in your own foolishness before they even have a conversation or have a response to a toxic behavior that you're causing. Do you think a real man is going to literally sit here and fuss with you back and forth like two catty women? Look at the comment section. This tells you these are not real men. These men are moving with an agenda. Of course, anything that makes money, people are going to jump on the bandwagon to try to make money themselves. Some of these men don't even have the beliefs that they're speaking about. They're just speaking because it's what's popular. But you can see through that if you're tapped in. But yet you have women who are sitting here constantly watching this stuff over and over about men telling them how horrible they are, how that stuff is further depleting your spirit, and you're starting to believe that stuff. And once you believe it, boom, you're right where they want you are. You're right where they want you are. You are right where they want you at. Come on, coffee. Kicking coffee, kicking. When you're healed and you're elevated, you know better than that foolishness. Because you know better than that. You know what you carry. You know you're rare. You know you got choices. Because you know nobody else can touch you. Period. You know those kind of men can't even receive you. Not those kind. They can't even receive you. They can't receive you. And you're okay with that because you know there's a pool for you. So, what are some things that you can do to expand your dating? Because there's quote unquote piss in the dating pool. There's a few different things I'm going to just kind of branch off. One, again, heal, right? Because that's going to really open up your eyes to different options. Next, traveling is very, very important, especially like if you're a person like in a small town, something like that. Traveling to different cities, even different countries, right? Traveling. Next, do things that maybe you're not accustomed to doing. Like, for example, you don't have to just eat at Applebee's and Red Lobsters. No disrespect there. Just saying, take yourself to a nice 5-star restaurant. And all this, well, I don't have money to listen, skip your nails done or do your nails for 2 weeks or a month for yourself, right? People like to say they can't do certain things, but let me tell you something. We're going to do what we really want to do. Skip the club for a month, save up some money, and take yourself to a nice 5-star restaurant. If you can't afford a meal, sit at the bar. Sit at the bar and just have some appetizers or a cocktail or some salsa water from my churchy holy folks. So I'm gonna have a cocktail, right? And just relax. But a lot of times what happens too is because people are conditioned to think that, oh, well, only this race does that type of stuff. Let it be horseback riding, let it be golf lessons, let it be charity events. Like, people mindsets are so conditioned, and there's a cap. There's a cap on their mindset of things that they were taught. And this is not everybody, of course. So if you're not healed, which will build your confidence, because God builds your confidence internally, right? You're going to be afraid to walk in some of these places because you're going to feel like, well, I don't fit in and I don't belong there. Who don't belong where? Oh, when I walk in here, everything stops. Point blank, period. Who don't belong where? Who told you that? What makes you believe that? That's conditioning. That's generational trauma cycles and all that stuff like that. So take yourself places that maybe people say that you don't belong there. Child, please. Take yourself to 5-star restaurants. Stay at 5-star hotels or visit their lounge. Typically 5-star hotels, they have like lounge areas. Remember, people travel from all around the world. And when it comes down to a certain group of individuals, they're not going to be just playing around in the streets. They got too much to lose. So they're typically going to kind of be more low key, right? So go and have a cocktail, right? And keep in mind, you're not going anywhere to look for anything. You're going to literally enjoy yourself. You're going to literally just sit there and just take in the fact that you don't have to have a cap on where you belong or all that other nonsense. And you will be surprised the people that you attract because of your confidence. Because how many people can really go out by themselves, for one? That's another thing. You don't need 10 girls friends with you. That's going to deter a lot of your audience away from you, especially high value people. Because you can, let's just say, okay, for example, okay, I'm going to go and try something different. I'm going to really try to, okay, but I'm a little afraid because I'm a little shy, or I don't feel like I really belong. So I'm going to take 8 of my girlfriends with me, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? And now 8 of y'all are sitting at the bar, just whatever y'all doing. And there's one gentleman, who happens to be staying a night because he has a connecting flight tomorrow. And he really, really, really sees something in you. But there's 8 females, and he don't even know where to start. And I know you can feel like, well, if he won't, he will come in. Yeah, that's true. That's true to a certain extent, because men are, hunters, but high value people ain't gonna chase you, right? So sometimes you have to make a way. So in a situation like that, right? Let's just say there are other people with you, but you already know there's kind of like some kind of connection. Listen, sis, I'll be back. I have to go to the restroom, right? Create the space, create the environment. But typically all that other people and stuff like that, that can really be blocking you. When you are able to go somewhere by yourself or with another person, but whatever, by yourself, it says a lot about where you are. It says a lot about how confident you are. And it also says a lot that there's an open space for people to really approach you, who wants to approach you, rather than trying to wean out 8 different people just to get to you. And I ain't got time for 8 girlfriends. I'm just telling you now. Because half of the time, never mind. That's a whole nother, I'll go left right there. Be the same ones trying to holler at that same dude Child, please. I ain't got time for the nonsense. um, it's also very important for you to heal because, again, they're high value men. Speaking about men now, she's a female, obviously. They're that behavior, all that nonsense that people say they ain't changing because this and that. Even though you know you're toxic, even though you learn all kind of toxic habits from your mom, you ain't gotta change for nobody. Truth be told, they're not dealing with it. The first thing that they see that's toxic, a toxic trait, you will not get a return call. So you see why it's so important to level up. I just had a flashback. I went to dinner with a gentleman. This is probably 3 years ago. And he said to me in the middle of dinner, he said, you're the first black girl that I went on a date with. He's a black guy now, right? And I said, oh, is that right? I said, okay. All right. I mean, I didn't get offended because, it was very obvious too how the way he carried himself. He said, but I said, so, why am I here? Respectfully. I mean, that doesn't offend me. I'm not against people, That's why again, you got to get out your feelings because certain people only want to date a certain race or they don't want to date in their own race. Who business is that? Is that their business or your business? Because when you look at statistics, I think is what? Is it 90% of black men are married to black women? I think it's 90%, something like that. But they're pushing an agenda to make you think that that's a very, very small percentage of individuals, but they're pushing that narrative. But look at the facts. So he said, I said, obviously I'm not white, have no desire to be, so no disrespect to my white friends. He said, but you're not ghetto. Well, thank you. Thank you. Right? I guess. And he was telling me, he said, I went on a date with this young lady. He said, I really did like her. And he said, I took her to a 5-star restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, she pulled out some lotion out of her purse. And she just starts literally slapping the lotion all over her arms. And the lotion was flying everywhere. And he said, I just couldn't understand. She was just really ghetto and loud. And I said, well, did you get a chance to even meet with her prior to taking her out? Because I don't understand. From the first conversation, there are certain things that you may have picked up on that would have kind of alluded to, well, maybe I don't want to take her to a date. And he's like, well, no, she kind of had her game face on. And it just... So I say that to say again, because you did mention this, sis, that you're hearing that men, that's not true. Google how many black men are married to black women, percentage-wise. So you're only focusing on the agenda they're pushing. They're literally putting in your face intentionally those type of men with those type of conversations. And again, even if that's their choice, that's their choice. Speaking of that, who's stopping you from dating outside your race or your culture? If that's what you choose. And I'm not saying for you to do that. I just want to be sure there's not a cap based on the things that you were taught, or a certain group of people look like this, a certain group of people smell like this, a certain group of people, all that foolishness and nonsense. There's good and bad in every race. There's ghetto in some races. There's trailer park trash in other races. We can go on and on and on and on and on and on. So if somebody have conditioned you to think that in certain races this and that, and that stuff is stuck in your mind, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. They also push this narrative, the toxic, whatever you call these people, manosphere, whatever. they also push this narrative about women who are successful, this. No. Listen, let me tell you something. That is a lie from the pits of hell. Men, not one that I know, do not have a problem with successful women. It's when the woman is trying to compete and she's literally like his what do you call two people that's like against each other, where versus it is two successful people but coming together as a team. It's and I've seen it, they're not lying, I've seen this happen where women take, and it's almost like they try to make the man feel less than, or I don't know the word I'm looking for, but that is true and that does happen. So don't let anybody tell you that a certain race of people, whatever, don't want women working. That's a lie from the pits of hell. I've dated outside my race, and let me just tell you something. I've never met any person who have a problem with a woman being successful, or being having that boss mentality. It's how you move in that thing, though. It's how you move in that thing. So I think too, sometimes a lot of things are being miscrewed and some things are just getting twisted, and you have people who are taking other people's words and then they're taking it and they're just making their own stuff up about it, and it's now just it's crazy. But just be who you are. Again, if you're toxic, that's the one area that I would encourage you. You gotta heal that area, because healing will then again help you to be okay in the other areas. Don't change who you are. For example, they're pushing, and then again, this is not what some is pushing. Some is taking it and running with it. But they're trying to make feminine tend to be somebody who's very meek, who's very quiet, who's very shy. Honey, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that. Be who you are, because you're going to attract who you are, meaning it's not a toxic trait. You're not toxic, but you're who you are. But when you start trying to change yourself based on what somebody else is saying, you're going to lose yourself. You're not even yourself. You have people who are very meek and shy and quiet, and you have people who are very confident because they know who they are, and so they speak with authority. Not saying that the meek individuals don't know who they are, but we're just all different. I have friends who are very, very meek, very, very, and there's like, Kizzy, I just wish I had your confidence. And then I'm looking across the table like, girl, I wish I had some of your meekness, because sometimes I get in trouble. We are who we are. You will attract what's for you. Anybody that's ordained for your life will find you. They will accept you because they're ordained, but they will not accept your toxic behavior. That's different. That's the difference between changing you and changing toxic behavior. So once you level up, that automatically opens your pool. The problem is the pool is different. So you may see it as, oh, well, they're boring, they're they're not. Then you may need to go back to the healing season. But once you're fully healed, you will realize that it's the complete opposite. In fact, it's all you now want. You don't want anything else. So that's my advice to you, sis. Just again, make sure you heal. Start putting yourself in other environments that maybe you were told that we shouldn't go, or only this race do that, or that. Challenge her. And with that, you're going to have to actually challenge yourself. Like me, listen, I'll go anywhere. Honestly, I will go anywhere. But that has happened over me intentionally pushing past fear in the past and putting myself in those environments. You will be it will blow your mind when you start putting yourself in certain environments, how the things that you were taught was all a lie. You will be surprised how accepted you are. It will blow your mind. And you will start to feel like, why didn't I do this before? Be intentional. Push past the fear the first couple of times. Go shopping in other environments if you can't afford to take yourself out. Go do your grocery shopping. Drive up from wherever you are, if you're not like in a, what you consider to be a quote unquote suburb or whatever, drive up there, do your grocery shopping, then go get your gas there, right? Hang out there. Everything doesn't have to be done in the hood. And there's no disrespect or not, because listen, your girl got some hood in her too. Let's keep it real here. But when it comes to elevating, you gotta expand your mind. So yeah, I think this is also turn off that toxic stuff, right? If these men aren't pouring into you, don't turn off when it's truth. But it needs to be coming from a place of love, and that's not many channels, sadly. But don't be sitting there listening to that stuff, people pouring stuff in your head about, oh, because you have kids, all this other nonsense, which is not true. You have tons of stories where people, child, please, it's not true. It's not true. Also, make sure you're staying in the gym. Again, it's not about weight, if you will, but it's about your energy. Let me tell you something. Energy. Okay, let's take really quickly, for example, who's coming to my mind, Portia. Okay, Portia is undeniably beautiful. Portia is over 40. Portia had a child. Portia pulled in a high-value man. Period. So all a high-value man don't want a woman with a child, and it's all a lie. It's an agenda, and people are capping their mind around that stuff, going into major depression. Now, people call Portia, quote unquote, I'm not saying it, people call Portia ditzy. Some have even said intelligent, things like that. But look at her energy. Look at Portia's energy. Portia's energy is light. It's fun. She's actually feminine in a lot of ways. Look at her energy. So when it comes down to high value people, which obviously her husband, because he owns like several. Well, anyway, that's heavy. That's heavy. So a high value man loves to take care of his woman. Men love to take care, masculine men love to take care of their woman. But in order to take care of you, they got to work. And that stuff is heavy. So who's coming home to a heavy house of toxic negative energy, always down, your face ball up, and you're coming from outside where it's already heavy. So go to the gym and get your energy up, right? And just become fun and light and stop all that nonsense. Stop all that nonsense, right? So yeah, I think that be careful who you're putting yourself around. You got a bunch of toxic friends, they got to go. Point blank period. Making sure you're tapping into your purpose and your calling and elevate if that's what you choose to do in regards to your career, stuff like that. Because a high value person, they don't have time to just be sitting there catering to your loneliness. So you got to really, really amp your game up in that area, right? You got stuff to be doing yourself. Because many times they're going to be very, very busy from the type of man that you say you're seeking. Also, if you do happen to have children, that stuff have to be in order. Seriously, all that baby daddy drama, and he can pop up to the house anytime. Girl, no ma'am. No ma'am, no ma'am, no Pam. That is not gonna happen. So those are just areas that you have to really work on cleaning up your life. Because people can say what they want to say about, again, people want to accept me the way that nobody have to accept you the way you are. Point blank period. And nobody's accepting that drama and that nonsense that many times many individuals have been conditioned to think that's normal, and it's not normal. And sadly, it's not people's fault. And they really don't even know that they need to be healed. And this is why God is starting to put certain examples in your face. This is why you're starting to have a desire to heal. This is why you're starting to have a desire to want to do better and be better as a person. But ultimately, what you want to do, truth be told, you want to level up and become the best person for yourself. Not for a man, not for a woman, but for yourself. When you've leveled up for yourself, which is a process, you may want to, whatever you want to do, whatever areas you're struggling with, right? Level up in that area. You want to become the best version of yourself, because then you can attract what you really, really, really want. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.